Hey James, thanks for joining in. I hope you can hear me now. I'm feeling better. I'm getting better, getting back on my feet. Hey, blood clots are blood clots, so it is what it is. But we're getting there. Really appreciate you checking in. Okay, great. Yeah, glad you could hear me now. So, what we're doing here, if you look back about a year ago, I released a video where we built they call it a TV, but let's be honest, it's a monitor from AliExpress. One of these little dudes here. It's in my back videos. Check it out if you haven't seen it before. What we're doing now, though, I don't want to spoil the video, but it worked. But we weren't getting the full display. You get about maybe like 2/3 of the display. Did a lot of troubleshooting. I thought it could have been power. Actually, one of my followers on Reddit, he had a kit too, so we were troubleshooting together. So what I'm doing now, long story short, I'm rebuilding the kit. I bought another one. We're completely rebuilding it, but instead of using the parts provided, I bought all new parts. So everything that's going to be in here, other than maybe like one or two really weird off-value resistors, are going to be new quality parts that I got off of, Mauser and reputable dealers, right? So, for example, all the capacitors are Redworths. So, pretty good stuff in here. I'm treating this like if I was going to rebuild some audio equipment, I'm going to treat it with that type of quality material that's going to go into it. So we'll see what the result is. The more I look into this project, and it's hard finding information, right? But these kits are at least 10 years old. All of these are dated 2016, but I found references of this kit earlier than that. And what it seems to be is like a training kit for people in China who are either going to be in manufacturing or maybe in school learning about manufacturing. And the reason I say that is the kits are incredibly cheap, right? Which isn't too uncommon for stuff from China. But the quality of material in here is laughable. And it seems like it's more of an exercise. Hey, can you read schematics? If I give you schematics, can you read them? Can you assemble something? And can it work? In quotations, can it work? And there seems to be some other people online that agree with that assessment. So, we'll see. But there was a French gentleman who was able to actually get this to work. And it seemed like he replaced a lot of his parts with better quality equipment. So I think that's what it was. So I'm kind of trying to follow with that. Hope that answers your question. Yeah, that video was actually, I want to say it was my first breakthrough video. I say that lightly though, but yeah, I got a lot of views from that, and I'm actually still getting a lot of views from it. It's one of those really interesting concepts that people have been doing. There's other people online that have bought this kit and have tried to assemble it, but nobody really made a video of it. And I remember, I was working on, when I was building the original one, it felt like such a rush because in the back of my mind I was waiting, oh man, somebody else is gonna make a video on this and drop it. And I was really, really hush-hush on Twitter before I posted it. I didn't want anybody getting any idea that I was trying to build this or what I was doing with it. And the day I posted it, I was traveling for work. And I remember, it went live early in the morning. I got to the airport at like 5 a.m. And then when I got to my connecting flight again, I had like 3,000 views, which was unheard of for the channel at the time. And then it just exploded after that. And one of the big things is Hackaday picked it up, and they wrote an article on it. And I got a lot of traffic from Hackaday. And it was interesting, if you find the article on Hackaday, I think it's somewhere in my Twitter account, but if you just, type in AliExpress CRT Hackaday and like RTOD, it'll come up. If you read the comments in there, somebody said that they know me in the comments, and they're like, oh, I know this guy, he was at some sort of convention, and, it was like full of crap or something like that. I don't know, like, he wasn't like getting on my case, but he was kind of implying that I really didn't know what I was doing. But like, I never went to that convention. I don't know this guy. But that's how the internet works, isn't it? So. Oh, of course, yeah. Of course, everybody knows you. And that's, you see that a lot with other channels. I'll pick on the 8-bit guy. Obviously he's way bigger than I am, but you always find somebody on forums saying, "Oh, I know David Murray from this, and he's dumb because he does this or whatever." But that's just how it works, right? So one thing I'm doing here. The gentleman on Reddit that I was talking to found some shorts on the board. And I'm seeing if my board shares that, and I can't find any yet. But I'm not going to lie to you, I'm probably not going to go through the entire board and check everything. And part of this is I still need to set back up where I can start doing this. I had a bag of resistors somewhere, and I don't know where they were. So, last week I was in the hospital with this blood clot, and then I came home, and I knocked out, because the place is a mess, right? I have a clamshell iBook over here, torn down to the motherboard, because I'm trying to wrap up that video. I had 2 other videos posted, and in moving things around to film those videos, I kind of pushed the CRT stuff off to the side, and I'm trying to reorientate myself on where I put all these capacitors, because I had everything. Where could it be? One of these days, I'm going to get a better working environment. One day. Yeah, so it was after assembly, and it was interesting, right? Let me pull up some of his messages. Yeah, no, I got so this bag. I know this bag is good. This is more parts, including the flyback. So this one's good. I have some switches and diodes in here because originally I had everything sorted and was ready to go. Well, they're bad. Bad capacitors. This was capacitors from some other project. I don't know what they are. It's around here somewhere. But yeah, so he found the shorts after assembly, and a lot of it was actually, believe it or not, some of the components. Because one of the things he commented is that same observation I found, just to explain how cheap some of these things are. The color bands on the resistors, you could wipe some of the paint off on it, right? Not even talking about like acetone, just like some rubbing alcohol, or if your hands are really oily, the paint will come off. And there are some capacitors that I legitimately do not. You wouldn't know the value unless you tested them. Same thing with the resistors, because it's just so cheap. The markings rub off. Some of the ceramic caps didn't even have markings on them. So you'd have to test everything. But the problem when you would test it, the tolerances were so loose that you really didn't know. You really didn't know what the value was supposed to be. Now, I need to find those resistors. I really do. That'll go there. These are the instructions they give you. This is the. Look at this. This is the state it comes in. And of course, everything's in Chinese. Not that it really matters because you're just looking at the diagram. But this is how it comes shipped. Yeah, in all honesty. The circuit diagram's pretty good. You can actually, if you go on AliExpress, you can download it. And that's what I did, and then I printed it out nice and big so I can mark it up. But the most valuable thing in this kit, in my opinion, is the tube itself. Because really, where else, unless you salvage it, or are incredibly lucky to find some new old stock, where are you going to get a 5-inch tube that's, no hours, basically. This is brand new. So the tube, the flyback, and the board itself, in my opinion, is the most valuable thing. I did take high-resolution scans of this board, both front and back, and I'll have those when I release this Part 2 video, whenever I get around to this. I'll have those scans available if somebody wanted that. I feel somebody with better PCB skills than I can probably recreate this board. The board itself is decent quality for what it is. I never had any issues with traces. Continuity's good on all the traces. For a project board, it's actually pretty good. Everything's clearly labeled. some of the issues that I have on here are the way things are labeled, and it's a nitpicky thing. It really is. Let me pull up my notes, because this was a big talking point when I do the video. CRT2. Yeah, so like some of the resistors on here, one of them, I think like R4 maybe, it would be labeled 3K9, but there'd be another resistor on another part of the board labeled 3.9K. Meaning, same thing, right? But they're labeled differently. I mean, it really doesn't affect anything because you're going to put the same value in there, but it's just that little bit of quality assurance that would have been nice to have. It's just like, wow, did somebody really look at this, right? Or did they throw it together? But like a comment I found earlier, maybe that was part of it. Maybe assuming this was for education or training, maybe that was point of it. Because you can write 3K9 or 3.9K. So are we trying to train people and let them understand that, look, these mean the same, so you're going to use the same value? Maybe. Yeah, exactly. I was thinking Fusion 360. I've never messed with it before. I've never messed with designing or anything with PCBs. I actually might try. But yeah, if quality components make it work, yeah, that'd be great. But the downside of that would be you'd still have to buy the kit or source the flyback and a tube, which you could, right? You could probably find a smaller black and white CRT that has the same flyback or something similar and wire it in, and go from there. So we'll see, but it's one of those things. I'll provide it for the community, and maybe somebody can make some magic happen. If not, we'll see. And whenever this is done, I have another AliExpress thing here. I got this so like old doorbell CRT, right? One of these little flat ones here. Also got this on AliExpress. These are really, really cheap right now. You can, at least to the United States, you can get one of these shipped for less than $30. Last time I checked, prices are fluctuating all over the place. It's a copy, pretty much an exact copy of a Sony CRT. You use it for work. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The tube would be the biggest hurdle, but hey, you never know. So yeah, Adrian had one of these, and it's nice. I actually, where is it? It was cheaper to buy two, so I bought two of them. Really, really neat little units, man. It comes with everything you need, all the wires, so you can hook it to power and video and go. I have a plan for this one, and I'll spoil it here for everybody watching this now. But earlier I had a video where I bought this super cheap Famiclone, right? And the Famiclone, I wanted a Famiclone with a really, really small motherboard, right? And something that also runs on the same voltage, 12 volts, as this. So eventually we're gonna mash these two up and try to get a portable unit going. So there you go. So whoever's watching the stream now, you'll be able to check that out later. But I got some other pressing things I gotta do before I do it. So I put it on my desk so I see it every day to remind me to get working on it. But they're really cool units, and even if you just, I thought about, like, if I can get this, man, hook this up to like a Pi or something. Maybe have like a little setup on my desk displaying real-time weather. Maybe an RSS feed. I don't know, man. You can do a lot of things with this. it's just really cool. And the viewing angle, it's narrow, but if you had it propped up on a desk, and you 3D printed a nice enclosure, it would be something nice just to kind of have there, scrolling in the background with, weather information or just something, right? Maybe like a live Twitter feed or something. Really, really cool. And for the price, if you have some know-how, why not? It's worth it. Absolutely worth it. Yeah, trying to get a Model 1, that's exactly what I would need for that. But right now, finding any Pi right now is not exactly the easiest thing anymore. Yeah, I remember I was actually talking to my wife probably a week or two about it, because I was looking at some Pis, and before COVID, before everything got crazy with chips and everything, I was thinking, man, I should probably stock up on get 2 Pis just to have around for projects and stuff. And I was like, man, I don't want to spend the money on it. And now it's like you can't even find a half decent Pi. But it's coming down. I think prices are coming down. We should be hopefully back to normal soon. So I have a Pi. Well, the problem is I have 2. I have a Pi 1 somewhere that disappeared off into ether, but I have a 3. But it's actually the Pi 1541 for my Commodore 64, and I built an enclosure around it, and it's living in the enclosure, and I really hate to rip it out every time. Yeah, I know that's. Yeah, the China lockdowns are really affecting chip production. It's easy to say, right? But and I'm sure you would, feel the same way over there. But it would be nice to have more domestic chip production for us and for you as well. I read something, I forget what it was on, that Germany, a couple of the chip manufacturers in Germany is really starting to ramp up production and do things that they normally wouldn't manufacture to try to help upkeep with this. And I mean, hey, I think that's all good, right? Not to get global politics into anything, but just having more competition is better, and then just getting more love around the world as far as production. It just makes everything safer, more secure, and more affordable. Now, I don't have any tonight, because you mentioned you're in Scotland, but the last live stream I had some Iron Brew, and actually I haven't had that in a while. That was one of the things I got addicted. When I was in the Navy, we went to Faslane a lot. We'd pull into Faslane, and Iron Brew was one of my weaknesses over there. So I'd always load up on Iron Brew for when we'd leave. So it was one of my favorite things. Seems to be a love or hate relationship with Iron Brew, but you know what they say, it gets you through, right? Where can I find this? I'm gonna walk around the desk real quick because I know I still can't find this bag, and it's really bothered me. I'm gonna be right back. Hey, Retro Stuff, how you doing? Yeah, there's what's called it's called like British Delights or whatever, but there's a store probably about an hour away that has a bunch, everything British, Scotland, England, Wales, the whole 9 yards, right? But that's where I usually get my Iron Brew. Sometimes I would try to get it on Amazon and have it shipped over, but yeah, it's one of my weaknesses too. I tried explaining the taste, and that's kind of like the forever thing, trying to explain the taste of Iron Brew. I don't know if you guys have it over there. To me, it tastes like double bubble chewing gum. Right, it's this pink chewing gum we have over here, and the taste is very, very similar. And then when I was one of the hotels, it was at the Holiday Inn in Glasgow. I know you're gonna get on me for my pronunciation of Glasgow, but we stay in there, and I would get Iron Brew and Di Serono, and it would be 1 part Di Serono to 3 parts Iron Brew, and that's really good. That is really, really good. So I'm kind of shifting gears here a little bit. So let you know what we're doing. If you look back about a year ago, I released a video where I built a CRT from AliExpress. Here's that board. I bought another board that I'm installing modern components. So we're installing modern components in this board to see if it works. I don't want to ruin it for you. If you didn't see the original video, go back and check that out. But I had a bag of the resistors here, and I can't find it yet. So I'm hesitant to continue with the board until I find this, because I like to build my way up, right? Before I put too many taller components in, I like to do all the little components. So I'm going to shift gears real quick, because I have my old 6400 Performa, 6400-200, yeah, that's it. I got this guy tore apart because I want to try to get this. I'm going to try to get this ready for Marcintosh. And I want to get it maxed out. I want to get some more RAM for it. This is... We're going to be all over the place tonight, because I really didn't plan on streaming, but I planned on getting some stuff done. But you guys know how projects go. But this 6400, this is the VEE. It was the video editing edition. So it had, S-Video in, AV out, and then there was another expansion card right here, really for doing video editing, right, on a very old Mac from 96, 97. This was my first Macintosh, right? Prior to this, I had a 2GS. I loved that thing. I used that all the time. But this is like my first modern Macintosh. And I haven't used this thing in years. Literally, it was in my parents' attic for 20 years, maybe. So finally got it out. We're gonna clean it up, upgrade it, at least max out the RAM. I have got a Blue SCSI over here. No, the Blue SCSI. This isn't for this project. If you guys could see the other side here, I got like 3 different Macs tore apart. One of them will get the Blue SCSI, but I want to get this working again. It was great. It was OS 8.5, I think. It was some flavor of OS 8. But yeah, it's kind of what I learned what modern Macs were about, and I want to get it working again. Hopefully in time to do a Marcintosh video, and we'll see. I still have my Marcintosh project from last year that I never finished because I was having issues with the Blue SCSI, everybody's favorite pizza box, this LC2. I don't know, it just wouldn't... It would see the hard drive, but it wouldn't see the Blue SCSI. But when I would take that Blue SCSI and put it in another LC, it worked just fine. But I got that sorted out. I'd love to tell you what I did, but I didn't do anything. I just stopped working on it for a while, and then it started working again. That's how it goes sometimes, huh? These were nice. This is, back in the day when you can just undo 2 screws, pull out the whole motherboard on a Mac, and have access to everything. And then now today, if you even think about upgrading a Mac, you avoid the warranty on it. I used to, before my current job, I used to work field service. Sorry, my chair's all messed up here. I used to work field service, and self-healing faults were the worst, because you'd go and you'd troubleshoot it, and it'd be really worse if you got, called out at night to do something, right? You get called out, you drive a couple hours to go to a site to fix something, and you would do all the right stuff, right? You do all the right troubleshooting work, and nothing would happen, right? So you'd give up, call it good, and then it would just start working again. Because you can't document everything. We were real big on documenting all of our issues, so that way the next tech would know exactly what was going on. But yeah, those are the absolute worst. Absolute worst. If I knew the stream was just going to be you watching me finding stuff, I would have labeled it correctly. But hey, while we're here, let me show you guys something here. I picked this guy up. Never heard of this system before, but I saw it on Facebook Marketplace, and I had to pick it up. This is a Data General 1. Don't mind this. I have the cover for this part. It is a very, very early DOS machine. Yeah, probably. Yeah, so it is right. You're going to see this one in a video, but I'm really taking my time, and I want to make sure I do this justice. This is Data General 1. This is from 84, 85. It's arguably the first laptop. And the reason I say that is, well, think about everything else at the time, right? So 84, 85, if you got a DOS or a CP/M portable, right, it was really a luggable. Like, I have an Osborne over there, and I have a Columbia Data Products over there. So, we're talking about a 40-pound machine easily that didn't have a battery, or if it did, like the Osborne, it was just very small. But that was it. This guy here, when Data General came out with this, it was arguably the first laptop because, one, it's incredibly small. So you very light, maybe 14 pounds, maybe a little less. So, compare this to an Osborne, this is like night and day. But the selling point, in my opinion, was this compartment right here. And like I said, I do have the top to it, I just have it off. This is the battery, right? And it actually had enough juice in here that you can get 2-3 hours working in DOS programs and running it. Obviously, it wasn't very successful. Otherwise, we'd all know about Data General and the Data General 1. The two main faults for this system was, one, the screen. And you can see right here the reflection of me. This screen makes a better mirror than the mirror in my bathroom. This is the same technology in like calculator screens, right? So it's very, very reflective. And when I turned it on for the first time, I thought the screen was broken. That's how bad it is. It's not good at any viewing angle, in any light. It's just really, really bad. You have to convince yourself that it's on, and then you can see things. The other main issue with this machine was, to an extent, it was a little too far ahead of its time because it has 2 3-inch floppy drives. Well, 3 1/4, right? So, modern floppy drives. But when you think about it, everything in 1984, the vast majority of your DOS programs were on 5 1/4. So, how useful was this, right? And when you think of early copy protection, especially with 5 1/4, a lot of those programs that would run on 5 1/4, you couldn't easily transfer them over and have them work. So, right off the bat, unless you were living and your software was on newer floppy drives, you really didn't get a whole lot. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting machine, but I want to take my time with this and really do it justice because there's not a lot of information on it. There's maybe like 1 or 2 videos on YouTube that talk about this machine, but they don't go into a lot of in depth about it. So I'm going to do a deep dive on it. I'm going to really do it justice. I reached out to LGR and he did a voiceover for it. So once this is posted, I'll get to say I have LGR in a video. So that's pretty exciting, right? That's going to be cool. Where are these things? One day I'm going to take a picture of this side of the desk. Yeah, everybody always sees this side of the desk. I'm going to take a picture of this side and you're going to see what I'm working with. I actually, down in the basement, I set aside a corner of the workshop specifically for this, for fixing computers and doing the channel, and I've done nothing on it. Hey, Retro Techie, thanks for dropping in, man. So one day, I'll move down there. So Retro Techie, just to fill you in on what you're doing, one, you're watching me find stuff because I misplaced a. Oh, yeah, like the jersey. We're gonna talk about that in a second. I misplaced a bag of resistors, so I'm trying to find that bag of resistors. Because what we're doing, if you remember, a year ago, my AliExpress CRT video, here's the board for that one. I'm rebuilding it. So I got this board, but I'm rebuilding it with modern, better quality components. And some of those components are missing. So we're going to try to find those. But yeah, so this jersey, one day these may or may not be for sale for people. Got my name on the back, It's actually really good. It's like everything's like stitched on. Like this isn't screen printed. Like that's stitched on. The logo's screen printed, but it's screen printed on a separate material and it's stitched on. It's really good, really, really good. So I'm looking at some prices and seeing it wouldn't be a drop ship deal, right? I would have to buy stock ahead of time or maybe do bulk orders or something, but it'd probably be one of those things where, if I did offer these up for sale, you'd probably just get the logo, and it wouldn't be customized. It'd probably just see our RTOD on the back. I'd be the only one with Mike, right? Nobody else is going to get their own name for it. But we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, it's a hockey jersey, right? So you're going to be paying a little more than what you'd expect, right? Not like a full-time NHL licensed jersey, but a little more than an average shirt from like one of Ron's shirts. If you look at Ron's computer videos, merchandise, we'll see though. I had plans. I wanted to go to VCF East this year, but I have some work commitments that weekend, so I won't be able to go down. But whenever I get to one of the conferences, I would love to show this off. Why is this saying my computer battery is low? Oh, maybe because I didn't plug my computer in. That would do it, wouldn't it? There we go. This is not the normal spot for this. Oh, so you have this kit working. So did it work the first time for you? Was it this exact same kit or something else, Jose? Because if you saw my video, it works, right? It powers on, but the whole display doesn't fill up. And I've pretty much ruled out that it's a power issue. My power checks out. So we'll see. It's one of the reasons why I want to build it with better components. One thing I noticed with these sellers, it seems like that there's just a warehouse or two in China full of these things already boxed, and they really can't pull parts from it. Because when I bought this one, I surprise, I had quality issues with some of the parts, and I contacted the seller. And I was like, hey, I just need a couple things for it. I think it was like this RF modulator. Not that I'm even going to use it, but their response was, well, we'll send you a whole new kit. Just pay the shipping, right? Because they couldn't pull parts from it. They would have to send you the whole kit. So, I think it's just one of those things that it's, I don't want to call it a cash cow for them, but they probably have hundreds and hundreds of these things lying around, and it's not worth their time to part them out to people like you and I who just need one or two components. My NHL team, Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh everything. That's the answer. If it's NFL, NHL, baseball, Pittsburgh. That's all it is. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, and even though I've moved around, teams haven't. So, Penguins all the way. I even watched the Pirates, so that's how that goes. We're not going to talk about the Pirates. Let's see. It's not in here, not there. This is really troublesome. Oh, that's Windows XP Service Pack 2 for some reason. Well, maybe this stream will just be me cleaning up the bottom of my desk. Wouldn't be a bad idea. This case here, while we're here, we'll just have story time. Why not, right? This case here, I have had this since I was a little kid, and it still has a lot of things that I ripped apart when I was younger because I was not as smart now. A lot of these chips are from older IBMs that I just destroyed. I saved all the parts, right? I mean, I got all these chips here. I ripped out of them. But yeah, I've just had this forever, and I slowly use it. I got we got here? It's a Celeron 600. What's this guy? It's Intel mobile one. I don't know, J943B810. I don't know. Uncle Mike would probably know exactly what that one is. But this has been a really great box. I pulled a lot of good stuff from here. I got a whole bunch of IBM track points for ThinkPads, PC speakers. These look like music or the music unit from like a greeting card. DSL filter. All kinds of stuff here. Vacuum tube. What is this? CXBJ. I don't even remember what that's from. But yeah, I've had this thing for years. Okay, yeah, so it's just regular black and white. Yeah, that's the nice thing about black and white units, right? A lot of it is swappable. So yeah, you could. Now, I will tell you, and actually if you want, if you're interested, shoot me a PM on Twitter or email me. I have high-resolution scans of this board, both front and back. So, you can throw that into Fusion 3D or something and make a board, hopefully. But when the video drops, I'm gonna provide that to the community. But if you want it earlier, shoot me an email, get me on Twitter, and I'll gladly share those with you if you want to try to recreate this board and use it yourself. You'd still have to get all the components and everything, but you'd get the board. And the board's one of the big things in this, in my opinion, anyway. If you can source a tube and a flyback, you really just need the PCB. And I got scanned. So seriously, yeah. Shoot me an email. retrotechordie@gmail.com or find me on Twitter, and I will gladly send you those. The only thing I ask, if you make the board, let me know how it works. That's the deal with this, alright? Let's see. Bad caps. That's an audio amplifier. Man. And look, I remember cleaning all this up. Well, hey, waiting for the AliExpress seller or not, shoot me an email, send it to you, try to recreate it, because my gut's telling me that it's not that they won't, but they probably can't just send you the board, right? Because they would have to open the kit. Everything is sealed. Actually, I'll be right back. I'm going to show you what they shipped this in, and you'll understand why they can't do it. So it's double boxed, right? But the outer box is just coated in tape, and the inner box has more tape on it. They're not going to open it up. They're not going to open it up for you. And I'd hate to see you, buy the entire kit and have it shipped to you. Because even though the prices are fluctuating on a lot of these things, and again, it's typical AliExpress, right? There's 4 or 5 different sellers that are selling the same thing at different prices. Typical AliExpress packaging. I saw one of these kits for like $30 for the unit itself, right? But shipping to the United States was $70, right? So something doesn't make sense there. And then another one of the ones I bought, it was like $80 for the unit, but $10 shipping. So it's typical AliExpress. It's just AliExpress. So yeah, I mean, still chase it down, right? You never know. Maybe you'll get and ping some of the other sellers too. It's probably the same person, in all honesty. But ping some of the other sellers. Maybe you'll get lucky and they'll send it to you. But send me an email or get me on Twitter, and I'll be sure to send these scans off to you. That's what it's about. Helping the community here. Probably throw some stuff away while I'm here. This is notes for a video I did. Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. Shipping to Brazil. Friend of mine, he's from Brazil. We were in the Navy together. One thing he does, 'cause even shipping from the United States to Brazil is a lot. What he would do is, get a whole bunch of clothes here and send them back to his hometown and everything for kids and stuff. But they would just fly them, right? Fly it as like checked luggage down to Brazil, because that was cheaper than trying to send anything through regular postal. I'm sure there's reason for all of it. I don't understand it, especially from Brazil up to here. I mean, north to South America shouldn't be that much. But you never know. You never know. It's probably almost as bad as my last video, or I just ranted about a dive computer. Man searches office for bag of resistors. Hey, one thing I'll say, and I'm going to tweet about this later. Right now, I'm at 991 subscribers. That's crazy. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who subscribed. Seriously, this is, I didn't think we got it pretty quick, I think. Hopefully, probably by the end of February, we'll be over 1,000. So, thank you to everybody who subscribed. That really, really means a lot to me. Thanks for normally free shipping of one of those 5. You bought one of these guys. Is this what you're talking about? These are neat. Yeah. So, right now, while we're talking about shipping, it was, again, another AliExpress thing, right? It was cheaper to get 2 of these with shipping than one. I don't understand. That's why, especially like shipping from China or just shipping from AliExpress in general, it's all made up, right? They just make numbers up, and it's whatever people buy. But I was looking at it. One seller had one of these, and the shipping was like, I don't know, $20, which I guess is reasonable. But then in the recommended, down the bottom says, oh, you might like this. There's another seller that had another one. The price of the unit itself was lower, but shipping was cheaper. So buying 2 of these was cheaper than buying one from the other seller. But when in all reality, we all know it's probably just the same guy in China managing multiple accounts, shipping these things out. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And then there's that, like, when I bought the 5-inch black and white TV. Yeah, I bought that when, 2020, when COVID was really messing with world shipping, and then with all the lockdowns, that came quicker than the one I bought a couple months ago. Just who knows? If anything happens, so yeah. Especially those aluminum boxes, man. I bought it was essentially a Pelican case, right? Just a knockoff Pelican case. Same thing. It was easier, cheaper to buy it from another seller, but it's a Pelican case, right? You ship these things, but the case itself was bubble wrapped and then put in a box, which made it immensely bigger than what the case itself was. And I'm thinking, like, why didn't you just slap a shipping label on it and zip tie it shut and call it good? But try to explain that to an AliExpress seller. Oh well. All right, so let's see where it works. I only got 1 or 2 resistors left. And one of them I deliberately left out because one thing with this kit, and this is why I wouldn't recommend buying the kit unless you really want to torture yourself. The resistors on here, if you just got like alcohol, like rubbing alcohol, you can wipe off with the color bands on it. And that just shows how cheap this thing is. So when I built this one, I'm using quality resistors, right? So, I trust the bands. But what I would do, I'd get the resistors that came with the kit and I'd measure them. And even if I had, you'll see this when I launch this video, if you had like 5 resistors of the same value and you measured them, they'd be all over the place. They're way out of tolerance of what you'd expect. And I think that's part of the issue why this one didn't fully work. So, we'll see. Hopefully it'll be a better video. Other things I noticed, this is the first kit, this is the first thing ever where I've had capacitors fail on me, like actually smoking and failing. I've never had that happen before, except for this kit. And that just really goes to show how cheap of components are put into this thing. Likely fake transistors for this failure, because the power was fine, right? I did a lot of testing after the video based on a lot of good feedback and suggestions I got. The power's good. I've done it on both AC and DC. The power is fine the whole way up to the tube, right? Or at least it matches. It matches with what the schematic says it should be. So that tells me somewhere in the middle, the signal's just not getting there. And it's most likely the resistors, although a lot of the capacitors are just not where they should be. These are all Chongx, CHONGX, Chongx capacitors. And there's a video I found where a gentleman takes a whole bunch of Chongx capacitors, not from this kit, but just general ones that he bought off AliExpress, and all the values would test wrong, right? If it was like a 25 volt capacitor, I'm going to do this for my video. He took it up to a power supply, put like 25 volts on it, and it would be fine, right? But if you went a little bit above, right, 28, it'd explode. Right, whereas I'm using all Worth capacitors for this. This is my bag of Worth capacitors for the project. Any good quality capacitor, if it's marked 25 volts, you can probably put 30, maybe 32 through it, no problem, right? Because the tolerance is there, they're built well enough, and they're able to take that. Whereas, these guys, if it's marked 25, it probably can't handle 26, and there's a lot of documented cases where it just can't. It just physically cannot take that. Yeah, absolutely. That makes me think of, Apple IIs, right? You get an older Apple II, you can seriously hook stuff up, backfeed power in it, do whatever you want, and it'll take it, right? But it takes one thing as a, bad semiconductor, resistor, capacitor, just to not like it and fail. And that's why I really push, if you're repairing something or building something from scratch, it's going to save you time and heartache down the road to spend a little bit more, get a better quality part in it, and overbuild it to an extent. When we're talking about capacitors, right, spending a few more cents, literally a few more cents, get you a better quality component on there, and it'll just make everything easier for you down the road. I'm treating this build. What is this? I'm treating this build like I was doing audio equipment, right? If you ever did anything with audio, you really want good quality components in there. Best stuff, so you get really crystal clear audio. That's how I'm treating this. That's why I'm doing Worth. Worth is just my go-to capacitors for audio. And the other thing, right? This is a bag of the capacitors I got out of it. So this is a 25 volts, 2200 microfarads. This just feels very cheap. It feels very light. And I know I made that comment on the video, and of course somebody on YouTube commented about, oh, you can't tell the quality of the capacitor by feel, but yeah, you can, man. Right? Yeah, so you build guitar tube amps, so right? You could pick up a component and tell, and this is well built. So here, let's just put, yep, perfect. This is a perfect example, right? So, same values, right? So this is our 25 volt, 2200 microfarads Chongx. So the AliExpress one. This is the Worth one. Short's bigger, which isn't necessarily always an indication, but there's a weight difference, right? The Worth one just it feels heavier. I can squeeze the Chongx one, right? This is just built so much better. You can feel it. It's not just the weight. It feels better in your hands. The leads they feel secure. These are very, very bendy. And again, on face value, that doesn't mean anything, right? But they probably got the full thickness. Yeah, they probably did. But yeah, it all matters. And actually, on some of these Chongx capacitors, they don't have relief cuts in the top, right? So, a lot of the capacitors, you'll see there'll be an X on the top, right? And the whole idea is, if it will blow, and if it's Chongx, when it'll blow, that's going to be the weak spot, so it'll blow out there. Some of these don't have that built into it, so when they explode, it's pretty catastrophic. But again, it's little things like that make you really question the quality that goes into these parts. But that's what you get when you buy AliExpress. And there's times and places for it. I mean, I bought this. This is for another project. It's a very, very interesting audio amplifying circuit. I bought this off AliExpress for a couple bucks. in hindsight, I mean, I could have just made this, right? It's not that complicated. Yeah, you just get one of those 28, 22 chips in it and go. But, for the $5 this was, it's great. It works for what it is. For prototyping, yeah, it works. But I certainly wouldn't rely on AliExpress parts for for something I was going to sell or use long term, or just anything that really meant anything to me, sentimental or not. So the email, give me a second. I'll throw it in the chat. That's probably the absolute best thing to do. There you go, retrotechordie@gmail.com. And we'll get those scans off to you. Okay, so you should be able to just use like Fusion 3D or something. I'll be honest with you, I've never designed PCBs or anything, but you'll at least get a high resolution of all the traces, and then you can take both of those, invert them, and put them side by side, and should be able to build. I mean, it's one layer, right? It's not very complicated. You can probably, if somebody wanted to, you could probably really maximize this and do a 2-layer board and make things more compact, but there's really no reason for that. But yeah, I think for what you're looking for, this should do it. Because I don't think that AliExpress seller will open open any of these up and get parts out for you. Let's try this again. Yeah, please let me know if it works. Be really interested in that. So, Zave, how, if you don't mind me asking, how did you find the channel? Because now that we're pretty close to 1,000, I'm kind of seeing where people come from and how we can better reach people. Let's see what we can do. Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah, that video was very good for me. Very good for me as far as getting exposure and getting the channel out. And hopefully, when this next one drops, whenever I finish this, we'll get some more exposure. Because I don't know if you saw, Hackaday picked this up, and they did an article on the first one. That was really my first big exposure out there. Yeah, so no, good, glad to be here, man. Glad. Just wish I could find these resistors, huh? Well, it's all appreciated. It is all very appreciated. Okay, that's just not working. What are these? 5 amp fuses, huh? I don't remember ordering that. It does. It does have an inductor on it. Now, yeah, so I mean, this is, if you would think of any small... Let's grab this guy over here. That's probably not the best. So yeah, this kit, if you think of any small black and white TV, right, it has antenna in, right, so you could put coax up to this, and then AV in, mono only, right. It does have a channel search, right, but that's, pretty much useless now in North America anyway. I'm sure it's similar down in South America. Everything's digital now. So, you could search through channels, right? There's different bands on it, and that's probably, a terrestrial mainland China deal. But, yeah, it's very similar to, think of an older black and white TV from, like, the 70s or 80s, right? Same things you would think, volume, you could sort through channels. It's, it's nice, man. Like, yeah, you could do. One of the things I've thought about this, and mostly for this little flat one here, right? What would be displaying text, right? If it'd hook up like a Raspberry Pi, maybe like the Pi 1 because that was composite out. Maybe have like a rolling weather display or an RSS feed. I think it'd be really cool if you had a nice case for this on your desk. You had the Pi built in, everything wired together, or even the same thing with this, with this 5-inch deal, because it comes with a monitor case, right? I think it'd be really cool to just have something displaying on here in the background, whether it was weather or maybe a Twitter feed, just something, right? Because especially these, right? Adrian's Digital Basement featured this, and it looks pretty good for text. Once you get it dialed in, right, the text can look really, really sharp on here. And it would be pretty slick to have something on here displaying text in the background. Okay, let's go through here. What do we got? Yeah, if you buy, not that I'm saying you should, but Yeah, if you did remove the back of it, yeah, I think it would be that. I get a couple ideas for this, and I'm not sure what I want to do yet. But one of it just might be a standalone RSS feed, constantly spitting something out. We'll see. But if you did get one of the bigger ones, not that you should, but if you did, it comes with a speaker, right? You'd have buttons on the front for volume. It does have a built-in antenna, so if you still have an analog terrestrial, you could pick that up, or if you just build a small transmitter yourself, you can display stuff to it. This, no surprise, the plastic on this is incredibly brittle. If you saw the video when I posted, I actually had to put tape around it to hold the tube on the display because all of the tabs broke just by putting it on, just assembling it the first time. All of the tabs broke. I read some posts, older posts, right, online, but where people would buy these kits and when they would arrive at their house, they would all be ruined because the plastic broke in shipping. Yeah, don't buy the kit. Just make the board. Don't buy the kit. I can't recommend that kit in good conscience in any way, shape, or form. One guy follows me on Reddit. He bought the kit after my video, right? And he knew I couldn't get it working. But he bought the kit, and we still talk once a week. He sends me updates on the issues he's having, and he's been working on it way more than I have, and he still can't get that thing working. A wooden case would be nice for this. It really would. And it's there's a lot of options you can do with this, and that's one of the nice things. I mean, man, I'm really trying not to say good things about this kit, but it's flexible. You could build a wood case for this. That would be nice. Even if you got maybe like an older wooden radio that didn't work. I hate cannibalizing stuff like that, but like an old tube radio that was actually like legitimately destroyed, you can probably put this tube in and get some nice results. I think. Okay, let's keep looking here. And I said the problem is I had this all laid out and I had everything organized, and yeah, that's it. Yeah, if like I was telling somebody earlier in the stream, the three things in this kit that are worth anything is the tube, the flyback, and the board. Everything else you're better off sourcing yourself because it's going to be better quality. And this chip. You probably need this chip. This is kind of like, I don't want to call it your jungle chip, but on a modern CRT, that's kind of like a jungle chip, right? This does most of your audio processing, but if you didn't need it, you can probably omit this. But yeah, the board's the biggest thing. It's nice unless you can somehow make it work for my scans. But the flyback and the CRT, because you could source these, right? You can get a flyback and a CRT from another black and white monitor and hook it in here. But realistically, this monitor maybe has 30 minutes on it, if it was even tested at the factory. So you're really getting a brand new monitor from, what's the date code on this one? 2011. So, yeah. If you wanted to waste some money and, don't value your time, try it, shoot it out. But yeah, if you got some flybacks and CRTs, you'll be good. Assuming everything works, it should work. these, yeah. Yeah, just use those. Use those. Try to make this board work and use the ones you can get there. Well, yeah, and the good thing is, at least for black and white stuff, right? It takes a lot for the flybacks or the CRTs to die on those, and it's usually pretty obvious if they are broken. So yeah, you getting a used one, pretty good bet for you. All right, so I did find my bag of transistors or resistors, of course, in a unmarked bag. Where else would it be? So, can actually get some soldering done tonight. Let's do the rectifier. Tiny 2-inch. Is that that wouldn't be from like an old video camera, right? What's the 2-inch from? Actually, that'd probably be too big for a video camera, right? 2 inches? Alright. Oh yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about, little TV radio deals. Yeah, those were pretty neat. I had a little one that wasn't as small as 2 inches. I think it was a little bigger, right? Maybe 3 or something. But yeah, it was a little TV radio, and it had a battery in it. That was pretty cool, right? We would take it camping or something. I mean, the reception was horrible on it. The sound was horrible on it. But it was, for what it was, man, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool. Nice. Yeah, and again, that's the benefit of the black and white stuff, because you could swap the parts out pretty easily and not really worry about it. But when you get into color tubes, you can't do it that easily. Jose, do you document any of what you do? Are you on Twitter or anything? There's a lot of people that love to watch your progress swapping some of these out and building it. yeah, record it, man. I mean, it's, there are, I mean, like I learned with this, I mean, there are people that really, really enjoy watching stuff like this. And especially with CRTs. I was surprised I didn't join it earlier. There's a CRT repair Discord that I just joined, and I think you'd be really interested in it. It's just a bunch of people talking about fixing their CRTs, doing projects just like you. Actually, the guy on Reddit that bought this kit, he introduced me to that group. Oh, I hear you, man. This is the cleanest part of this area right here. I'll take that as a compliment. 100. 16, 100. Nothing is labeled on this in an easy way. This is it. 16 volts, 100. 16 volts, 100. Yep. Alright. Finally get the iron on. The guy I was talking to on Reddit, one of his comments was, hopefully you don't burn out any of the traces having better components in here. Do you usually buy 2 units? Rarely do I buy 2. This one, I mean, like I say, I bought this over a year and a half ago, and then this one I bought maybe 6 months ago. If it's something, it really depends though. I mean, there are times where I'll buy 2. I guess it's kind of a gut feeling, right? Is this something that I know I'm probably going to break or is not going to be good? Yeah, I'd probably buy 2. Well, when I bought those flat CRTs, yeah, I bought 2 because it was cheaper, but also I was afraid of it breaking and shipping. So I figure if I buy 2, increase my chance of 1 getting here. But luckily they were shipped pretty well. And I'm sure yours was probably shipped the same way, all bubble wrapped. It's not going anywhere. Okay. C8 is 25 volt, 22. 25 volts. 400, 16. 25 volts, 10. 25 volt, 22. Yeah, it's true. I mean, these are incredibly easy. It's one of the things, again, I don't want to age either one of us, but, these younger kids today don't understand that, this is a vacuum in here, That's why they don't explode. They implode. They'll go inwards. But yeah, it is a vacuum. You're absolutely right. There's a really great video of I think if you search, was it Sony? Is your Sony? No, it was Sony. They used to have a plant in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it was one of the last plants they had actually making tube CRTs. And there's a really great video of the entire process, right, of how they would make the CRTs and get the vacuum and build them. Really great, really great. Yeah, black and white tubes don't have the grill either. Yeah, you really need to watch it. I remember when I was younger with my friends, right? There was I don't want to call it a dump, but there was a dumping ground that we would go and play around with, and we would break TVs and stuff. But yeah, they would, especially the black and white ones. You gotta watch. You will go if you're not careful. Okay, that was when when TVs would hurt you, and then now everybody is scared of breaking the TV. You spend all this money on a flat screen TV and break it, get into your car or something. Oh, this 17-inch. That's not something to scoff at, man. That would be that'd be scary. And again, not to, it's amazing, right? And the size of the capacitor doesn't always mean anything, but this guy here and this one are the exact same values, and look just how much beefier this Worth capacitor is. I get a good feeling about this. Hopefully we get some better results. So we've discussed it being faulty by design. I don't think that. And I don't know if you were in the stream earlier when I was talking about this. The best guess on this kit, because again, one, it's old, right? We're talking 20 years for the newer kits. These have been in production for a while over in China. But the best guess I can come together is that these were designed for either education and or manufacturing as a training device. So, if you were maybe going to school for electronics or manufacturing, or if you were going to go into a plant for manufacturing, it was almost like a teaching device, right? Saying, all right, well, here's the schematics, here's all the parts, can you put it together, right? And will it work, right? Well, mine, right, it worked. It turned on. It didn't not work, and it didn't blow up, right? It worked. It didn't give me a satisfactory result like you would expect, but it worked. So if it's a training or an educational tool, yeah, it works. Could somebody read these schematics and build the kit and have it work? Yeah, absolutely, right? So, I think that it was deliberately designed to be cost-effective and not be perfect. I'm not sure if it's old enough from capacitor plague, right? But even if it wasn't that old, it could still be affected, because a lot of that was stealing of intellectual property, right? And then mistranscribing the actual chemical compound for the capacitor. So I'm sure that there are still manufacturers in China that are using that incorrect compound. So we'll see. I don't think it's... who knows? I don't think it goes that back for the capacitor plague, but they're definitely not good capacitors. What is this? 10 microfarads, 25 volts. 1025. Yeah, and I might skip the TV tuner part on this one, because, I mean, let's be honest, we're not going to be using it. But for completeness, it would be nice. I'll probably test it without it in yet, but it would be nice to prove that it works with better components in. Because there's been, if you read the comments on that first video, right, it's all over the place. Some people are saying the kit's just junk, or I don't know what I'm doing, or all kinds of stuff, right? People would say, well, it's got to be power, or it can't be capacitors, or it is capacitors. It's all over the place, right? There's so many opinions on it. So it would be really interesting to see it working, one, without the tuner, right? And then two, if it works as designed with modern parts, right? And it'd be really interesting to see what luck you have with just the board, right? Using that board with another tube and flyback, and maybe that'll be a third part, right? Can we just use the design, like this circuit board with almost any TV, right? Because I think we're getting to the part now, and you might be seeing similar things down in Brazil too, right? Where the CRT market is starting to, resurge again, right? But you have a lot of people selling them for gaming, right? So, Trinitons looking for things with composite component, S-video, stuff like that, right? Maybe some people who want the digital processing. So you're seeing prices spike a lot on CRTs, but a lot of the components are failing. And it's not necessarily the tubes either, right? You have sets that are bad for capacitor leakage or maybe water damage or whatnot. I mean, you can submerge a tube, but it's really not going to get bad. But if a circuit board is rained on for too long, then you can get rust buildup or something else. So I think it would be valuable to have replacement boards that would work, and you could just salvage tubes from something else, and that kind of sounds very similar to what you're working on down there. Ooh, nice. Yeah, if you can grab those at work, man, that'd be awesome. I see a lot of that too up here, right? Where companies will get rid of, or what really bothers me is, a place will be getting rid of a security monitor, and somebody will pick that up. But what they don't realize is that security monitor has probably been on 24/7 for the last 25 years, and you permanently have a grid burned into it. But you'll get that. I mean, the thing is, a lot of the younger guys and girls too, right? Younger people. This is their first time working with CRTs. They don't know. They don't understand it. It's a whole new world where we grew up with it. That's all we had. You wanted to watch TV, it was on a CRT. One of the things, and I never truly understood it, but it seemed like Brazil, or even just the South American market in general, but Brazil probably because of how large you are. Some of, especially your Sonys, had much better built-in sounds. I know I have my main one over there. It's a KV27 FS100. Vega, right? It's flat screen, right? But flat screen tube CRT. But component, composite, S-video, the whole 9 yards. But that version, the South American version of that same model, had this R2D2 looking like thing on top, and that was your bass, and it had extra speakers on it, and it only worked on the South American models because it had an extra audio out that only worked with that Sony add-on. I don't know why we didn't get it. I don't know why the rest of the world didn't get it, but it was on South American models for some reason. So little jealous about that, but yeah, I don't understand. It's really interesting when you look at CRTs, or just really a lot of electronics, how they had different localized versions for different parts of the world, and some places get really cool accessories like that, and others would just get the base model. I don't know. I'm sure it makes some business sense. It's going to look really, really good with all these red Worth caps on here. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be, that'd probably look half decent, right? I don't know if it's just nostalgia or what it is, but there's really something about an amber CRT, right? And I mean, let's be honest, right? There's really, it does the same thing, right? But I remember younger, if I saw one of those, it was just like, oh wow, that machine does something really cool, and it's, I don't know what it was about it, but it just makes anything look better, right? DOS, Apple II, who cares, right? If it's on an amber monitor, it automatically looks better, it looks cooler. Yeah. I might try that. Yeah. Hey man, even up here, right? They're hard to come by. They really, really are. And when you do, they're expensive. I saw an Amdek. I don't even remember what model it was, but generic 12 or 13-inch Amdek Amber monitor, and it was like $200 on Facebook Marketplace, which is just insane, absolutely insane. So I can only imagine other places of the world having a harder time finding them and probably paying a much higher premium. I have a Columbia VP portable. It's a Columbia Data Products machine. They didn't make a bunch of them, but when I got it, it still was in the original box, and the box had Amber monitor marked off, but it's not. It's a green monitor. That was really depressing. I would have loved to have an Amber one for that. Yeah, I think it would. I know, you'll probably get some purists that would say that the Amber probably, other than looking at it, it's sharper or better dot pitch or something like that, right? But I think you could probably simulate it pretty closely by putting some tape over it. If it was dark, you had a dark room, I don't think you would tell the difference. Absolutely, yeah. Yep, bad signal going in. Can't make it look any better with a better monitor. But it's always interesting, especially in the CRT gaming community. There are a lot of very strong opinions, and I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Like, I have some of my consoles, I have better cables on it, but like, I grew up playing, Super Nintendo on RF, right? And I was happy, right? And it looked just fine. And I would argue that, RF for a lot of these systems, look perfect on a 13-inch monitor, right? But if you have a bigger one, yeah, it would look a little different. Yeah, the audio community's even worse, man. It's, and don't get me wrong, right? I got it over here, right? It's an okay audio setup, right? It's not going to be like win any awards, right? But like, there's a tube amp, which I like. I think it sounds good, but in all honesty, if you played me, there's snobs everywhere, 100% right. But if you played me a sample of something, I couldn't tell if it was tube or solid state. You couldn't, right? And I really think that a lot of it just goes to you could have a tube amp, you can have Pioneer SX 370 or whatever, but if you have crap speakers, well, that's your weak link, right? Or if you have just junk cables, again, especially in audio, right? If you have junk cables, it's going to make a difference. And there's so many variables on it, right? But don't get me wrong, right? I love having vinyl on a tube system. There's a sound there that just makes it, and looks, right? It's cool, right? I mean, I would love to have, I have a space on top of my equalizer, because one day I would love to have reel-to-reel, right? But I would, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right. I want to get something that does, the 12-inch reels, but, so expensive. But, if you had, a reel-to-reel setup with glowing tubes, and I have monitor 10s, right? We take the face off of it. It'd be a good looking system. That'd be a really good system. Because let's be honest, right? Glowing tubes look good, especially if you dim the lights in the room. Having a reel-to-reel going just looks good. That's a visual experience. Yeah, there's something about that, man. But again, or they're expensive, and that prices a lot of people out of the hobby. And I mean, let's be honest, right? If you had a younger, 18, 19, 20 something year old who had a couple vinyl records that they really enjoyed, and even like a knockoff record player, right? Something like a Crosley, or just some modern one that you would get, right? If that worked for them and they enjoyed it enough, and that's what got them into the hobby, great, perfect, right? They don't need a full Wamidine Pioneer setup. That works. It gets them into it, right? On one of the CRT Reddits, you'd see people post about, hey, my first pickup, right? And they'd have like some no-name, VCR CRT combo that's only mono or something like that, and only RF, and people would just downplay it and just crap on them for their pickup. But hey man, that's what they got, right? Maybe that's all they could find, or all they can afford. Some places, you can't find CRTs. If that's what gets them into the hobby and they're happy with it, great, more power to them. I see no reason to bring people down like that, especially when you're dealing with a hobby where parts aren't being made anymore. It's not like you're not going to buy a new CRT, or you're not going to go out and buy well, this isn't totally true. You're not going to buy a whole brand new tube amplifier. You can go get ones that are remanufactured or modern with vintage tubes, but these are things that are going to. There's a limited supply out there. Let's be honest. They're not going to be making CRTs anymore. Getting CRTs for free. That's what it's about, right? That KV27 FS100, I got that for $20. Yeah, $20. And the deal was I had to carry it out of their house, which I did, right? But yeah, you can luck out. I got a big guy down in the basement, 36-incher. That was heavy. I got that for free. But again, the deal was I had to carry it out. Yeah, that was bad. That was heavy. That's any hobby. That's what it is, right? It's all about space. What I've encouraged, right? If somebody sees 2 or 3 CRTs are available, right? See if you have any buddies that want them, and try to get them, because the thing is, you're right. They're probably going to get thrown out. And again, it's one of those things where there's a limited supply of these things, right? We're never going to have the chances of somebody making a new CRT is just so slim and so cost prohibitive for a company to do that I just don't think we're going to see it, right? You might, right? But I don't think so. And if it did, the price is just going to be so astronomical, it's going to price a lot of people out of it. So yeah, trying to save as much of these as possible, I think, is beneficial. Jose, you're right, man. A lot of it just takes asking, right? Because it's a bank. Yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot of businesses that still have CRTs laying around, whether they're in use or not. And the problem, I'm sure it's similar. I'm sure it's similar down in Brazil too, where if you went to a recycling center or a dump or wherever you put your trash down there, you have to pay to drop off a CRT. In the town I'm at, I think it's like $15 or something like that. So if I dropped off a CRT that I wanted to get rid of, I had to pay them $15, right? And that shares in the processing fee because of the mercury or whatever in there that a recycling company has to dispose of properly. So a lot of companies just hold on to it because it's cheaper to them just to store it than to pay to have it properly disposed of. And yeah, a lot of it takes just somebody like you going up to them and saying, hey, can I take these off your hands? You're saving them money, you know? Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what businesses will have laying around. And yeah, a lot of times it's worth asking, you know? Old socket motherboard's nice. Nice. Yeah, I remember in, I think it was like 2006. Yeah, 2006, 2007, the early 2000s, I worked at a television station. And we were going the transition from analog to digital. I was the master control operator the night we ceased analog broadcasting and we switched over to digital broadcasting. And we were updating everything, right? Cameras, monitors, everything. So we, at the time, nobody really cared about PVMs, right? Professional video monitors. And I remember, like, we just threw them away. We had a dumpster, and, we threw away probably 20 PVMs of all sizes, man. Like, little ones, big ones, the whole 9 years, just threw them all away, right? I knew I could have took them, right? We were throwing them away, but at the time, in 2007, that really wasn't something that people were thinking about, PVMs. DX2, yeah, 46 DX2, Texas Instruments, wow. That's nice. Yeah, I would really be interested in seeing you post some of these things to Twitter or Mastodon or YouTube or whatever works for you, man. That'd be really interesting to see a lot of these things. Because there's a lot of community, especially for the Texas Instrument stuff. That TI has a really, really good following of people, and there's a wealth of information out there. Texas Instrument people are kind of like Atari people, and take that for what you want. But they're very opinionated, and they really they know their stuff. They really know their stuff. K6s. I had a couple of K6s. Those are that's my stuff, man. That's my jam. But even some of the older Pentium stuff, it's really great equipment. And it's stuff that, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was going to get destroyed, right? And these are things that just, people are just going to get rid of. Hey, Justin, thanks for joining. So what we're working on is if you go back about a year ago on my channel, I posted a video where I built a CRT from AliExpress. This is the motherboard from that CRT, and what I did is I bought another kit. But this time, I don't want to spoil the video if you didn't see it, but it worked. The CRT worked, but the video didn't fill up the whole screen. So I bought the kit again, but I'm replacing it with all new components. So Worth Electronics, pretty much for everything, to give this the best chance, just like Jose said, of getting it working. Good desoldering iron. So Justin, I'm going to be honest with you. My primary desoldering iron is this Radio Shack solder sucker, right? I got this thing probably 20 years ago, and it works for me. I like the solder suckers. There's a couple ones that you could find on Amazon that are pretty decent. I would, depending on where you're at and what your skill is, right, you can do a really good job with some decent solder wick, right? If you get some good solder wick and your iron's hot enough, you can do pretty much everything that a desoldering iron would do. Now, you could spend a lot on a desoldering iron kit, right? You really can. But honestly, I would just go to Amazon, just buy any decent kit, because the thing with the desoldering iron, you just need to get it hot enough and get some suction on there, whether it's with the sucker or with an actual pump that can get it out there. That's the big thing with it. If I was starting over again, I would tell somebody, buy a better soldering kit, right? You get better tips on it, get better temperature control, and just get a bunch of good desoldering wick, because this is the best thing you can do. And rarely have I not been able to get the job done with soldering wick. Rarely. Okay. But for completeness and to answer your question, there is one I'm looking at, and let me see if I can find it. Yeah, because at the end of the day, right, I think when you get to electronic repair like this, there are so many options. I don't want to use the word cheap, but there's so many options, especially from Chinese companies, that I don't want to say they're all the same, but it doesn't really matter. So one of the ones that caught my eye, it's YIHUA 948. It's an 80-watt desoldering station. It's on Amazon for $130. Well, let's think, yeah, they're probably the same, right? It looks very similar to more expensive desoldering stations, but it comes with a lot of accessories, a lot of different tips. And I'm going to drop a link to it in the chat here. But again, you could spend a lot more for a station. All right, so I just dropped the link in. That's the one I'm looking at. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't buy it yet, but I probably will. I probably will. It has, pretty decent reviews, but again, they're all pretty much the same. Now you can spend and get why can't I think of the name of it? It's a blue and yellow. Hakko? I think it's a HAKKO. These are like, probably that's the station guys want, right? But you're going to be spending like $500-$600 for it. That's why I say, you can do really good with soldering wick, right? And I mean, this is cheap, right? I mean, it's just, I can't even tell you how cheap it is. Let's look it on it. So, and when it comes to desoldering wick, it doesn't really matter what brand, right? So here on Amazon, 10 feet is $7. And that's a lot. 10 feet of this is a lot. It's going to last you a really, really long time. So yeah, unless you're desoldering a lot, you can get by with wick. That's one of the reasons why I haven't bought a standalone desoldering station. This little Radio Shack unit with the thumb pump on it, if the wick doesn't do it, that will take care of it for me. Yeah, if you were in a manufacturing environment and you really had to desolder a lot, or you were salvaging parts, you might really need a desolder station. But if you're just tinkering around, you can probably get away with wick for a really long time. That's another point there. I was like, you want to get different wicks, different sizes, right? Because there's, did I close it? There's a whole bunch of different options for it. Yeah, so this, let's see, this one is 0.1, 0.08. So yeah, it's, get different thickness of it. That way you can go through. I mean, honestly, buying 2 or 3 different sizes will be more than what you need, man. Yeah, good question though. Good question. So with the C64, yeah, you might. Honestly, and again, I don't know what your what your experience or skill level of these are. You might want to look into getting a C64 dead test card, because your common faults with the C64 could be power, right? So make sure you have a good power supply, obviously. Did you blow out, the SID chip? Did you blow out any of those MOS chips in there? Were any of those damaged? More often than not, they're probably socketed. Some, depending on what revision, some of them weren't, depending on what cost cutting was put into it. But if you got, my advice for you would be, instead of buying a desoldering station, get a C64 dead test card, right? And what it is, it's this whole spidery thing. You plug it into the back. It goes into the cart connector. It goes into the tape deck port, the COM port, and it tests everything. And even if the C64 is dead, like it won't power on, it'll give you some video output telling you what the issue is. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of options. So, Retro Rewind, Retro Rewind in Canada, they have one. You're gonna, for some of these cards, you'll spend anywhere between $20 to $40. But it'll tell you, that and a good diagnostic card will tell you exactly what the issue is, and then you can go from there. In a perfect world, right, you wouldn't have much desoldering to do in that C64. You would just be replacing chips. While you're there, maybe recap it, right? I've recapped my C64s. That's just something I do, but I haven't seen a board that didn't turn on because of the capacitors, right? It was usually dead because of one of the MOS chips, the SID chips, or a power issue. That's the biggest thing. Because unfortunately, the C64 power supplies, when they fail, right, they usually fail higher voltage, right, because it steps it down. So that will actually damage the board. So you can get these little adapters, so you can use an original one. It has a fuse on it, so if it does fail, it protects your system. Or just go and buy a modern C64 power supply. Or, having, like Jose said, having a variable benchtop power supply is great. And, I got, what's this guy? For the C64, you would need two because of the voltage for it. But, something like this, this is like $20 on Amazon, right? Just having a good benchtop power supply is pretty necessary. But if you wanted to do a power supply for the C64, you would need two, or you would need at least one power supply that can output two different voltages, because you need 5 and 9 volts DC. Because that's one of the reasons I think that I'm probably going to mess this up, but when the 5-volt line fails, it fails as 9 volts. So now you're putting 9 volts through that 5-volt line, and that's what does a lot of the damage to the C64. So, having a modern power supply, you're going to get clean. And the old ones, the original power supplies, are very difficult, almost impossible to work on, because, in that brick, everything's just potted in there, and you really can't get it out. You have to get some regulators or two power supplies, or just get a modern brick for it, because that's a lot of the issues. Anytime I see somebody complaining about their C64 won't work, 9 times out of 10 it's a power issue. Have I used ChatGPT? No, I haven't. And I laugh because, believe it or not, I actually just made a ChatGPT account today. And the first thing I asked it was, write a program for Commodore 64 to make random designs on the screen, right? And it was, I tested it out, right? I wrote it on real hardware, and it worked. I want to start messing with ChatGPT more for diagnosis, and I might do a video out of it, because I've heard a lot of really, really good results about it, like scary good results about ChatGPT. I'm not really sure how I feel about it yet, right? My fear is it's people, just human nature, right? People are going to ask it a question, and they're going to take it as gospel, 100%. And that could be dangerous. You could hurt yourself, or you could hurt electronics. But I was shocked at how thorough the explanation was for building that, random design program for conversation. Do I still have it open? Yeah, I do. So I said, all I wrote was Commodore 64 program to make random designs. And it said, here's an example in BASIC that generates random designs to the screen of a Commodore 64. And it gave it, it ran, it makes sense, right? But then it explained, so this is what this one does, and this is how this function works. Really, really interesting. Really, really interesting stuff. Yeah. It's maybe I should ask it why this AliExpress kit doesn't work. But like anything, right? My concern is people who don't fully understand electronics or something will ask it a question, treat whatever it says as gospel, and then blindly go through it and, end up probably breaking something. Because nothing beats experience and willing to try and willing to mess up. I remember when I was younger, I would just blindly take things apart and put them back together. And sometimes they worked and sometimes they didn't, but that's how I learned, right? And that's one thing I really... So I got 3 kids. My oldest is 6 right now, and that's something I really want to teach them is, how do you try, right? How do you look at something and then take it apart and diagnose it and figure out what's wrong, or at least figure out what's right about it so you can start to eliminate options. Because I think it's easy to, take this for example, right? It's easy to explain to somebody with no electronic background how this works, right? Well, hey, AC power comes through here and it rectifies and it makes DC and blah, right? Signals happen and the screen makes pretty things. But explaining this is easy. But what's difficult is teaching you how to diagnose issues, right? Because if I gave you this board, this meter, and wherever my oscilloscope is, right? I could teach you how to use those tools independently, but you need to understand how it works or how it's supposed to work, and then be able to properly use your tools and meters to diagnose and then tweak things. That's a skill. And by no means am I some amazing guy at it either, but that's a very hard skill to teach, and it's just something that takes experience, and you have to be unafraid to try and not afraid to break. Because, you know, let's take your Commodore 64s, for example, right? You know, if they don't work, how much more broken can they be, right? You know, and I mean, some, I mean, they're not making them anymore, right? And some of them are hard to come by. But there's still a lot of Commodore 64s out there, and it's very unlikely that you're going to do something in trying to fix it that's going to make it unfixable. Nothing is really ever unfixable. It just depends on how much time and energy you want to put into it. So, you know, it's worth trying, and it's worth making mistakes, because that's how you learn. And sometimes the best way to learn is to break something, and then you'll remember it. You know. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and when you get it working, it is incredibly rewarding. I remember when I was in the Navy, I was on submarines, and we would get younger guys on who've never troubleshot electric components, and it's very intimidating to try to fix something or figure out what's wrong, especially when you're being watched. But it's incredibly rewarding to get it right. But more importantly, when you try something, when you're going through your procedure to fix it or your procedure to troubleshoot, if something doesn't work, that's always going to stick with you, right? And then you're, well, you know what, hey, I tried it before and it doesn't work. And you're going to learn from it, and you're going to get better. You know, I mean, I don't know if you can see it. This is my childhood Apple II GS over here. I have tore that thing apart and have replaced things on that more than I can ever imagine. But I learned from it, right? You know, so move guitar pedal. Yeah, yeah. You know, I mean, my first thing was a toaster, man. I mean, you know, it was toaster and a can opener. Those are the things that I really started to mess with, or at least the things that I remember, you know. But yeah, it was the can opener broke. I messed with it. You know, my parents got a new one anyway, but like, I was able to get it working enough, right? And that was really rewarding. You know, like I fixed it. You know, I'm sitting with Jose there, yeah. So yeah, your first pedal probably, yeah, it did sound like crap, right? But you did it, man, right? Like, you know, you did it, and you got better, and that's a feeling that's important, and it's something that, you know, when I first started this channel, you know, one, I wanted to talk about retro tech and stuff, and share, you know, things like this, C64, Apple IIs, things that people don't necessarily have. But another thing I wanted to really do, and one of the really core issues I wanted to talk about was fixing and tinkering with things. Because, you know, if you are unafraid to take things apart and figure out what's wrong with them, you know, one, you can save yourself a decent amount of money, right, by fixing things your own instead of buying new ones. But, you know, it's rewarding, right? It's critical thinking. It gets you doing things outside of your comfort zone, you know. You know, it's like maybe 8 months ago, our stove, our kitchen stove was just taking a really, really long time to heat up, right? And, yeah, my wife was like, well, let's get a new one. I don't want to buy a whole new stove, right? You know, everything else works. And so I took it apart. You know, I got my meter, I started poking around, and the heating element was bad, right? So I ordered a new $15 heating element, and, you know, had to desolder some stuff, right? Used solder wick, right? But we got the new heating element in, and, you know, for $15 and, you know, an hour and a half of my time, we got the stove working again. Otherwise, we would have had to spend like, $500, $600 on a new stove. But people do that all the time. Think of how many people, replace stoves, washer, dryers, mixers, toasters, any piece of equipment, right? If it breaks, they buy a new one. Because we're in a consumable society right now. We're at the point where, you can just, buy new things so easily and so quickly that, repairing isn't necessarily an option anymore. But, yeah, that's right. Yeah, people just used to discard things. Yeah, that's what it is. Where, 40, 50 years ago, if your TV broke, you called the TV repairman, and the TV repairman came with his box of tubes and everything else, and he would fix things. Yeah. Well, there was, we had a Samsung TV, big screen TV, jobby, right? And it would work, it would turn on, but there's no sound. Turns out it was just a 5-volt transistor. It just died, right? So what is that, like 30 cents, if that, right? Put a new one in, works. Now it's in the basement. It's it works, right? But yeah, Jose's right. I mean, we're in a society now where people just throw it away. And yeah, that's another point. Things aren't repair friendly. It's very, that TV, right? I mean, I was able to open the back. Well, think of any modern flat screen TV. You could open the back, right? But everything is all consolidated, a lot of systems on chips, or just really small components that it's not easy for people to get in there and repair them. In some cases, it's not possible. Yeah, e-waste is an issue. It really is an issue. I think, and I don't want to like crap on Apple or anything, but think about it. This is my iPhone, right? I mean, I have replaced batteries on these, right? And I have replaced other components on it, but it's so hard. I have a MacBook Air somewhere here that I got out of an e-waste bin, but everything works on it fine, but it only has like 4 gigs of RAM, but they're soldered on, right? So you can't put more on it. Like, things are designed. I don't like saying that they're planned obsolescence, but things are designed to pigeonhole you in where you have to buy a new one. Things aren't upgradable as easily as what they were, and things aren't as repairable as what they once were. This board, I mean, I can replace anything on this board really easily. But modern ones, it's very difficult. So the reason I really don't like planned obsolescence, Jose, because sure, some companies are malicious on it. Let's be obvious, right? They want you to buy new ones, right? But a lot of it is, and maybe this is just me being naive and thinking about it, but I think a lot of it is cost cutting, and how do we make things on the manufacturing side cheaper and more efficient to make? Because think about it. I mean, this board, right? If we were going to mass produce this board, you would have a pick and part machine that would place all these things and solder them and everything else, right? But we can consolidate a lot of these parts and make it easier to manufacture, and then it's cheaper. That increases our profits and all that other things, and that's why, right? Try to replace a capacitor on an iPhone. Possible, yes, right? If you have the right equipment and everything else, but it's out of the realm of the vast majority of people, and it makes manufacturing this easy, right? Because the machine, the pick and parts, putting really small things close together, and there's so many. It's denser, much more denser on here, so it makes manufacturing quicker and easier. But for the end user, it doesn't really help. And I know, eventually, you know, we're getting to the point where right to repair is being more talked about and becoming more popular. But I think the issue is companies see right to repair differently. Apple rolled out their repairability for these things, but you're buying parts that are incredibly expensive, and then to do it in the Apple repair world, you have to buy their equipment, and it's just it snowballs into this really dramatic, expensive thing. Let's see. Most phones get obsolete after some years because they automatically obsolete. Yeah, that's the other thing, right? I mean, I had my iPhone 6. So actually, this camera, this is my iPhone 6 right here. The only reason I upgraded it is because it got to the point where I couldn't run apps anymore, right? I can make phone calls sometimes, right? So like the phone would ring, but you would hear it, it would vibrate, it would do the thing, but I wouldn't get the notification, so I actually couldn't answer the call. Or like Gmail would crash. Like I would open up Gmail and the app would automatically crash. And a lot of it was just, the phone couldn't handle the new applications. And because of the way, especially the way Apple handles apps, and it's good and bad, right? Because there is security in it. But, you can't have, they don't want older versions of apps running for security and stuff. And I understand that, but, it got to the point where if I can't use my phone to make a phone call, right, the most basic thing that my cell phone should be able to do, what's the point, That was like my wife's phone, but we just got my wife a new phone. She had a Samsung Galaxy, and she just got an iPhone now. But that Galaxy, man, it would take forever to turn on. It would take forever to open an app. If if you wanted to copy like a word or a link or something, if you wanted to copy it and paste it somewhere, forget about it. It just wouldn't do it. If you wanted to, especially if you wanted to copy an image and maybe take it from Messenger over to traditional text, SMS, done. Like it couldn't do it. It was the point where we just needed a phone, right? For safety, you needed a phone, right? Because I don't, especially my wife, if she's driving the kids somewhere, I want her to have a phone in case something happens. It's, these have become so important, and I don't want to use the word of necessity, but, it's good to have a connection, especially if you're dealing with kids or something. It's nice to have that. But we had to. You had no choice, right? Because again, if your cell phone can't do the basic things of answering a phone call, it's doing you no good. Yeah. Yeah, anymore, right? I mean, like, I have a bunch of apps, but I don't use a lot of them. Like, I have Facebook, right? Because that's how I really keep in contact with a lot of friends and family. But really, my Twitter, Instagram, Mastodon, and YouTube is all for the channel. Like and subscribe, Retro Tech or Die, Twitter, Instagram, Mastodon, and then some other things. But that's really it, Because this is the iPhone 11, and it still does everything I need it to do. I don't have any slowdowns or any issues with it. I'm just starting to see some growing pains where some apps will crash, and then there will be a new update and it'll run fine. So I don't know if we're starting to see the end of the iPhone 11s. Hope not, because I really like this one. I actually really... my only issue with it is, and this is probably going to be counterproductive to what a lot of people think, it's a little too big, to be honest with you. I really like the iPhone 6. I thought that was a perfect size It felt good in my hand. I can easily put it in a pocket, and I didn't know it was there, right? I mean, I know my 11's in my pocket. We got my wife, so when we upgraded her, the first one we got was an iPhone mini 12 or 13 mini, and that was too small for her. So then we got her the regular one, and that's bigger than the 11, but it's fine. Justin, yeah, the 4. Oh, I love the. I wish I sold my 4. I was even now, right? I'm still, except for the 11, right? I was on the iPhone even gang, right? I had the 2, I had the 4, I had the 6, and then I had the 6 up until it wouldn't, and then I got the 11. But the 4, I love the design of it, right? Like it felt good. The 4 was probably my favorite iPhone of them all, right? I wish it was, and that's just something you won't see older phones being usable again, right? I mean, you can use them in their environment, right? You can reset it and use the default apps, but actually, I think even if you jailbroke a 4 today, I don't think it would really do anything for you. But yeah, 4 was a good phone. Really, really love the iPhone 4, man. Yeah, I remember that was, what was that app where you would check in? Was it Foursquare? Yeah, that was my guilty pleasure, man, when I got the 4. I had Foursquare, and I was living in Charleston, South Carolina at the time, and it was just my goal to be like the Foursquare mayor of everything. So I would just check in to all the places, just walk around town. Yep, check in here, check in here, check in here. Yeah, man, that was probably my first real, I don't want to call it a viral experience, but yeah, Foursquare was really cool. I don't think I fully, even today, I don't think I understand it. It was cool, but yeah. The iPhone 4, that was it. That was not my favorite phone, but that was it. I think my favorite. So I had a Razr. I was rocking a Razr for a while, but I had a. It was a Palm. Was it the Centrino? Let me look that up. It was a Palm. That was my. I still have it at my parents'. Yes, the Palm Centrino 690. I loved that phone. Absolutely loved that thing. It was blue. This is going to be awkward, but one of these deals, I loved the Centrino. I loved Palm phones. I liked them better than Blackberries. And, I think one of the things I liked about it was there was a clear line between the Palm side of it and the phone side of it. Because if you hit the phone button, that wasn't part. It was part of the Palm OS, but you didn't access it from the Palm OS. It was different. Man, I love that thing. I might do a video on that. I might do a video on the Centrino. I did a video on my M130. Kind of. I did a video where I played SimCity on the M130. This was a really nice Palm back in the day because it was a cheaper version, and you feel it, right? There's a lot of plastic in here. It's a plastic screen, not a glass screen like some of the higher end Palms. But it was a really good entry level Palm device, and it was color screen on this, and a really nice screen too. Yeah, M130. That was really, really great Palm. Really great Palm. And then I got a compact iPac over there. It's actually under the clamshell iBook that I'm trying to rebuild right now. The iPacs were neat. I always had a soft spot for compact devices. In that era of like the iPac, the Presarios, I really liked that design language. The circles, the rounded edges. It was just one of those things that you either loved or hated it back in the day, right? Yeah. We'll do something with that compact iPac eventually. There's some issues with it I need to get sorted out. Mostly the battery. I need to replace the battery, and it's an oddball one. It's an oddball battery, but once we get that taken care of, I'll get some good apps on it, and maybe we'll do it head to head with that with a Palm device. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out. Might wait to do it with the Centrino, because I love that phone. I absolutely love that phone. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jose. I think, and I think you'll agree, being like an audio equipment. I think that red capacitors make everything look better. It's one of the reasons why I really like Worth electronic capacitors. Not sponsored. I'd love to be sponsored by them. I won't be, but yeah, I think red capacitors really make it pop. I did my Osborne. I recapped that. I did that before I had the channel. I have some video on it. I might do a final video on it. But I recapped the CRT on my Osborne, and I did all Worth electronic caps, and that looked really, really good. Royal Da Vinci. Oh my God, I remember those. Yeah, I gotta look that up, because I haven't seen a Royal Da Vinci in years. Because it had the top was weird. Well, I mean, it wasn't weird, but it had like a, I don't know how to describe it. The cover on it was a little different. It wasn't flat. It was like bubbled a little bit. Yeah. Because Royal Da Vinci, it had its own operating system, right? It was similar to Palm, but it wasn't a Palm. It wasn't Palm OS. Yeah, okay, yeah, here we go. Let me turn my pop-off filter, because I can't see anything. So I'm on thegadgeteer.com. What do you got to tell me? Because I haven't thought about Royal Da Vinci probably since 2000, let's be honest. Yeah, those were cool, man. Those were really, really cool. Yeah, and it's one of those things where both of them, Palm had graffiti, right? And Royal Da Vinci had script. And it was your shortcuts to write. Oh, man, Yeah, I haven't thought about that device in ever. That's really cool that you had one. There is. Oh, it's tempting. There's actually there's a Royal Da Vinci on Amazon, $23.99. There's one left in stock, Justin. So go buy that. If you don't, I might. I don't know. Yeah. Early handhelds, man. It was interesting. And the nice thing about it, right, is the early Palms. Not like the M130, like the old, like the 3Com branded, like the Palm 2s and 3s, and the Da Vinci too, right? It all ran on like AAA batteries or something. Yeah, one in stock. So you pulled that up. That's always scary, right? When there's always one or two in stock, you're like, oh man, what if I don't get it? But it was really cool that you can just use AA batteries on these things. Really, really cool. Well, yeah, that was the same thing with the Palms too back in the day. There was a lot of homebrews for it, and I think it was just one of those things that, and I never had a Royal, but I'm sure it was very similar architecture, just pretty easy to program for, and you can distribute software really easily on it. And I think it was one of those things. That was really the first, like, you don't want to call them like app stores, but I remember having websites that were dedicated to freeware Palm games that I can go and download and just throw on. And it was the nice thing, I just had you just have your SD card and throw whatever you downloaded on there, and you were good to go. Let's go take a look at eBay, because I would be scared to buy this one off Amazon. Let's see what eBay says. I'm sure there's a bunch over there. Oh, still sealed with the keyboard, $21. That's not bad. Actually, none of these prices are that horrible. Yeah, those were really cool. Really, really cool, man. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Once LGR picks up on Royal Da Vinci's, they're gonna go up, man. Well, it's like anything with audio, with Techmoan, right? Once he shows something, it gets crazy. Alright, well, I think that is going to be my last capacitor for the night. Got some early stuff we got to take care of with the kids tomorrow. So thanks for joining. If you aren't liked and subscribed already, please do so. Check us out on Twitter as well, RetroTech or Die. And best of luck for all of you. Good night, and thanks for joining in. We'll catch you next time.